BYU is going to start a freshman at quarterback. And in ESPN's final Big 12 rankings, they put the Cougars in the championship. They put the Baylor Bears way too low and Texas Tech at 7. This may just be madness. Welcome to a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Baylor crossover.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. That's Cameron Stuart of Locked On Baylor, the Big 12 expert who is not happy with ESPN and their final Big 12 rankings before the season starts. We will begin there. Then, Ireland this weekend. We've got football in the Big 12 this week, but it's not the most important game of the season for our conference. How? Why? It's Cam's statement. He'll back it up. We'll finish with ESPN is about to give the Big 12 millions of dollars to do this red zone deal. We're going to get further rich. All of the Fox Sports affiliated schools will get further rich because ESPN has to buy the rights. That is good for us. If you hit subscribe, we get to keep our jobs. By the way, I am hosting a show with Gary Patterson this fall. I don't know if you knew that.
Baylor legend, Gary Patterson?
Correct. Childhood. It's a childhood dream fulfilled of mine. I know Baylor fans are going to love to hear that. But here coming up, Josh Hawley, Gary Patterson will all be hosting a college football show through Locked On and Amazon streaming soon. I can't wait for a little GP action every week.
That's unbelievable.
This is going to be a good one for the Baylor crowd.
Awesome.
The Baylor crowd that's really upset with me for not loving Baylor enough is really going to chomp at the bit on this one.
They're gonna eat this up. I really do think this will be measured, level, Chris level. Sure. I don't think there will be any situation where you and Gary Patterson are talking about TCU on the same studio studio. I doubt it.
This is great. #1 Kansas State for ESPN this year, which I get, by the way. I'm fine with it. It's not my #1.
I see the logic. For sure.
It's not mine. I said last week or yesterday now, Texas Tech, BYU are my top 2. I've got a good hodgepodge like Baylor, Arizona State, Utah, Kansas State in there. I like Kansas State. Not flipping out about that. BYU at 2 for ESPN. And they'll start a freshman quarterback. I don't know who in their right mind would ever put BYU in the Big 12 championship game with a freshman quarterback. Not named Drake Toll. 3rd, Arizona State also makes sense. Kansas at 4, Baylor at 5, and they've dropped Texas Tech all the way down to 7 after the loss of their projected starting running back. Taj Brooks is not going to be there this year, as we know. They got a transfer, a redshirt sophomore from USC who will not start this year after an ACL tear. But by the way, they have the 61st best rushing offense in America last year. That they don't lean on the run. They're going to be okay. This ranking is one of the rankings of all time.
It's definitely one of them. And, I saw this, and this came out like right after or like right during basically the Joyner news, the Quentin Joyner news. And I was like, maybe they were just ahead of this. I think it was actually right before the Quentin Joyner news. And I was like, maybe they just knew. Maybe they were just on the inside and they knew that Quentin Joyner was going to be out for the season and that was going to drop Tech big time. I'm the only one who thinks like no one's ranked Tech correctly so far. Either they're 1st or they're down in the doldrums like 7th. I think they're somewhere in between. But maybe ESPN was ahead of this. And they were like, we know Quentin Joyner's going down. But then I read from the Baylor write-up, Drake, from the same day. Quarterback Sawyer Robertson, as well as running backs Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass are back for the upcoming season.
By the way, don't know if you heard
more than a week after.
Did you hear the new Prince album and see the recent Carrie Fisher movie? On 3, ESPN, they're both really excited about them.
I'm going to go see Brian Wilson live in concert in a couple of weeks. Just brilliant ESPN work by the 4 letters, DUMM, the 4 letters, dumb. It's just, was this like their wild card pick to have Kansas at 4? Like, hey, we got to separate ourselves somehow? Because again, I'll refer to the write-up. This is what they have to say about Kansas. This is how this is why they're feeling so confident about putting Kansas on the Mount Rushmore of Big 12 teams this year. How about this for an endorsement? Kansas disappointed last season, finishing under 500 and missing a bowl game with a record of 5-7 in year 4 under Lance Leipold. It snapped a 2-year bowl streak for the Jayhawks. their first since the 2007 and 2008 seasons. Jalen Daniels is back under center for his final year of eligibility. It will be his 6th season with the program.
Yeah.
Period.
So that
when I read that, I'm like,
said Kansas really blew last year. They were terrible.
Buy me the stock in Kansas. Basically, that write-up was Kansas sucked last year, which kind of brought back their tradition of sucking a lot, which they did for a long time. And oh yeah, their quarterback is back though. Like that's what they say. They're like 4th. Bring it, just run it. Put your money on Kansas. Put the house on Kansas. They had a good offense last year. Led them all the way to 5-7. They lost Evan Neal. Surely though, they did what it took when they had such an electric offense at the end of the year to keep that offensive coordinator in Lawrence, Kansas. Survey says, oh shoot, they didn't do that either.
Wait, I hear that Jeff Buckley is opening for Jeff Grimes this weekend.
Like, where is coming from Kansas? By the way, Vegas, I think, was pretty high on Kansas too.
Yeah.
And like Baylor, right afterwards, they're like, well, they bring back like all these great offensive players, but they don't bring back Jalen Daniels. Sorry. They don't do it.
I'm going Kansas in mine at 10, which I think is a little more reasonable.
That I think is one of your best picks, one of your only good picks in there, I'd say. Is Kansas somewhere like, I would say like 8th, 9th.
Interesting, UCF is at 9 in this. I don't hate UCF as a thing, as a brand. I don't think they're the best team.
As a program that exists.
In the Big 12. 10, Utah is at 10 on this list. A couple other highlights, West Virginia 13, Houston 16. That is just stupid.
And I still think that's going to happen.
Utah, you do think?
No, I don't think Houston's going to happen. Remember, we've gone back and forth on this.
Yeah.
Like we got to a point where we were talking about Houston a couple of episodes in a row, and I was like, am I overrating Houston? Am I thinking too much of Houston? I probably was. But like, I don't think they're the worst team in the conference.
No, they're not the worst team. I don't think I have them at 8-4. I don't think you're subscribing to that.
No, I'm probably more like a 6-6, 7-5.
Which is reasonable for most people in the country, no doubt. BYU and Arizona and Kansas State in the Big 12 championship sans Arizona State. Again, I mean, I've kind of ridden this BYU train because of the defense, analytically because of the defense. They name a freshman quarterback and ESPN goes, like, with Jake Retzlaff, ESPN had him at 7th, I think. And then the second that he goes down, ESPN's like, he was a locker room cancer. He was the problem.
He was holding them back last year. So, I think that's what everyone was saying.
BYU is now in the Big 12 championship per ESPN. That's the biggest shock to me of this, just considering typically they don't get that kind of love.
Yeah, and because I think BYU, can be, and maybe some people will think should be, a top 5 team in the conference this year because of that analytically darling defense. And as we've talked about many times, the easy schedule. Look, BYU, there's nothing to be ashamed of in that. It happens for us every couple of years. No UT fan was ashamed last year. They had a super easy schedule. Okay, you've got an easy schedule this year. That's a good thing. It's going to keep you, I think, in contention. But I can't go back on this part. I've said so much in this offseason, and we talked about it last week. Like, if you don't have an elite quarterback, I think this is the year you can't get by in the Big 12 without having an elite quarterback. Maybe something crazy happens and it is BYU or West Virginia. But I do think, of all the years, this is not 2021 when it was Gary Bohannon versus Spencer Sanders in the Big 12 championship game. Yeah. I don't think it's the year that an Alan Bowman takes a team to the Big 12 championship game. I think you got to have the quarterback. BYU has almost everything else, but they don't have the quarterback.
Yeah, their rush offense last year 68th, their pass offense 60th nationally per pick 6 previews. Their defense 18th scoring defense, 33rd rush defense, 20th pass defense. That's where it was. If you combine those two, they were 15th in the country on the defensive side of the ball. That's where I think the bet is going to be made. Coming up, Ireland, punt it. Don't even watch it, says Cameron Stuart. Locked on Big 12, locked on Baylor. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is exactly where I go this football season. By the way, It's football season, and Prize Picks is available where I live. I go and I'm in Georgia. It's actually available where you live too, and everywhere you live. It's a daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up. College football is not far behind. Whether you got your eye on the big name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the game. Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. You can have all of the thoughts you want on the college football season, but have like actual stuff in play with Prize Picks. The flex play option is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still can double your money. Download the Prize Picks apps today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's with Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you run your game. Today's show is brought to you by Drip Drop. Drip Drop's my guy right now, dude. Hydration is huge. It is still brutally hot outside. Whether you're staying on top of your routine, workouts, long days, back to classes, or just hanging out, hydration is where it all starts, and that's where Drip Drop comes in. I've been loving it during these Savannah Bananas games where I'm wearing a fur coat. I'm going to have electrolytes. It absorbs. It helps your body absorb fluids, quickly delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. You know the ones. It's my go-to, especially during the long summer days here in August. Right now, Drip Drop's offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Head to dripdrop.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard with Drip Drop. Drip Drop. Cameron Stuart, Locked On Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
You texted me something today that was appropriate for the air, which is like a third of the things that I get from you. And it's that Ireland, Kansas State, Iowa State, which I have said is maybe the most important game in the Big 12 this season, is not the most important game in the Big 12 this season. So I wrote you back and said, what is the perfect game in the Big 12 this season? And you, being the Baylor guy, maybe onto something here. Before I completely turn it over to you, it is Auburn, SMU, Arizona State. 3 of the first 4 games Baylor gets in 2025. Auburn, SMU, Arizona State. It is not that unfathomable for them to go 1-3. Not that unfathomable for them to go 4-0. That Arizona State game being at home. It's very possible. You think Auburn and Baylor is the most important Big 12 game in 2025, period. Why?
Yeah. By the way, tip of the cap to Farmageddon in Ireland. I think that's fantastic. It's great for week 0. Great for the Big 12 in that sense. But like August 30th, Saturday, August 30th is going to be one of the great college football Saturdays of recent memory. It's just going to be awesome from top to bottom. Of course, highlighted by a Big 10 SEC matchup. But August 29th, your hors d'oeuvres, the night before, the appetizer is going to be extremely entertaining. And that is Baylor versus Auburn. Now, it's not the only Big 12 SEC matchup this year. We've got, an old rivalry coming back, Kansas and Missouri. We've got Arizona State, the defending champs, taking on Mississippi State and their awesome and deep coaching staff they've got at Mississippi State.
That's an FCS school, by the way. That's FCS, Mississippi State.
We got to highlight that matchup. Auburn versus Baylor, though, is like the trendsetter, the tone setter for the entire season, because it's the only one where you look at it where there's a Big 12 team that could legitimately beat an interesting SEC team. I don't think anybody's picking Auburn to win the SEC, but I do see a ceiling where Auburn is a pretty good team this year under Hugh Freeze in the SEC. And like, if Arizona State beats FCS Mississippi State, all SEC fans are going to say, oh, great, you beat our last place team. If Kansas beats Missouri, SEC fans will say, that team's barely in our conference. Auburn, one of the foundational pieces of the SEC. And all I see, these fans in the comment section, oh, Baylor did this, and Baylor did that, and Baylor did this that was good, but it was against the Big 12. That wouldn't fly in the SEC. Oh, 8-4, 6-game winning streak, you'd be 3-9 in the SEC. Baylor can prove a lot of things, not just for themselves and their fans, but for this conference when they take on Auburn. Okay, again, Arizona State beats Mississippi State. Who cares? Last year, Oklahoma State beat Arkansas, what looked like was going to be one of the worst teams in the SEC and what was going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. At the time, nobody cared until we found out that Oklahoma State was actually the worst team in the Big 12 and they beat an SEC team. But besides that, this is the only game on the schedule in the first 3 weeks of the season for the Big 12 that they can have a team really go out there and prove a point. Now, if Oklahoma State beats Oregon, that's a way different story. But I think there's a legitimate chance that Baylor beats Auburn, and there's a legitimate chance that Baylor beats Auburn, and Auburn still has a good year. I don't think they're going to be 10-2, but I think they could still have a good year. If Baylor beats them, that looks pretty good, Drake. That's why this game is vitally important to our truck stop.
I think we're underrating BYU and Portland State, but I'll give
Portland
it to you
State,
here.
the passing. I mean, good Lord.
Yes. When is the last time Auburn won at least just 7 games in college football?
It's been a long time.
Like 2019.
In fact, can I to put it into perspective, I think the host of Locked On Big 12 would have been a freshman in college.
Maybe in high school. I may have been in high school. I think Zach Blackerby was still unmarried without kids.
And that's telling.
It's been a little bit. He's got a full house now. It's been a while since Auburn just did the 7 wins thing. Vanderbilt, I believe, has done it more recently than the Tigers. That being said, based on that trend, beating Vanderbilt is more impressive for a school like Baylor than it is to beat Auburn. But what you are talking about is beating a brand. Yes. What you're talking about is beating a name. It's the same thing we rag on ESPN for. They love to use the name.
No doubt.
There's a good chance Vanderbilt's better than Auburn this year. There is
but Auburn's not the toughest game on Baylor's schedule. Like, not by a long shot.
I agree. I can almost
tough, but
I can almost guarantee you that Georgia Tech is better than Auburn, and Georgia Tech Colorado is a massive opportunity for the Big 12 to win a game. What I do think it seems like you're getting at is Baylor has a better chance to beat Auburn than Georgia Tech does than Colorado does against Georgia Tech, or Oklahoma State does against Oregon, or a couple of those other Big 12 schools at the bottom that face teams that are on the up. And as a piece of that, it's the standalone Friday. This is the big one on a day. It's not Colorado, Georgia Tech. It kind of gets buried in there. You're like, oh, fun matchup. I'll turn on FS1 or whatever it ends up being on. This is a game where America where Josh Pate and JD PicKell talk about it for 3 minutes. And when the Big 12 gets a game on those shows for 3 minutes, that's when you know it's big.
That's huge. That's huge. And it's something that people would remember because of that, because the nation will be watching. Let's say, let's say Auburn, goes on a little run, even if they lose to Baylor, and at one point they're 6-3, and you're like, wow, that's a nice bounce back after they lost to Baylor, right? Or the next day, College Game Day is going to be talking about, does UT really need this one tonight? Like, does the SEC need a bounce back? Like, humble pie last night when they lost to the Big 12. It's going to be on the minds of college football fans in what is going to be one of, if not the biggest college football days of the year, the next day. It's huge.
Did you know? This is really, really funny to me, actually. Auburn last year, per Pick 6 previews, had the number 19 offense in America, the number 19 defense in America. They had the number 27 scoring defense. That's a stat you can't argue.
Chargers. This is what's gonna remind me of.
They were 18th in yards per play defensively. Their rush defense, 27th in the country, 9th in yards per carry allowed. Their passing defense allowed 213 yards per game. Their offense, 19th. Already told you that. 8th in rushing defense. Rushing offense, 18th. The write-up from Pick 6 preview is, how does a top 10 SEC stat team finish 5-7? The answer, as written, complete meltdowns. So that's
Hugh Freeze.
Like, the pieces are there. This is a good football team. They were very good in things that are inarguable, in objective stats last year. But at the same time, they lost to Vanderbilt 17-7, and Missouri and Oklahoma, and they lost to Arkansas. Cal. They lost to Cal. Coming off a year where they lost, what was it, New Mexico State?
Yep.
That's tough.
Pavia.
That's
You can't beat Pavia. Hugh Freeze can't beat him. Yeah.
Yep. Coming up, ESPN's about to give us millions of dollars. Locked on Big 12, Locked on Baylor. Oh, what have I told you? Today's show is brought to you by Open Phone. One of the brand new sponsors here at Locked On is Open Phone. OpenPhone.com/Locked On College is your place to go if you're running a business. Every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the person didn't answer, I had like a tree out front. I needed it stump ground. Guy didn't answer. Gonna move on. Who's next? That's why you need Open Phone. Never miss an opportunity to connect with customers. #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. You juggle 2 phones to keep businesses alive? Open Phone solves that instantly. You get to respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. And the AI agent handles after-hours calls, answers common questions. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone, offering Locked On listeners 20% off the first 6 months. OpenPhone.com/Locked On College. OpenPhone.com/Locked On College. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers with Open Phone. ET, Open Phone, Cameron Stuart, Locked On Baylor. ESPN is about to give the Big 12 millions of dollars in a move that most people will think is going to kill college football or hurt us even further. It's the college football red zone concept. People went crazy when ESPN bought the rights to NFL red zone. People went nuts when they bought the NFL network, and this is not good. But now Front Office Sports is reporting that Fox is unlikely to license Big 10 or Big 12 games to ESPN for a college football red zone. Fox said, no, we have the contract with this. We have the contract with them. Why would we give you those games for a red zone? And because of Big Noon Kickoff, Deion Sanders, Ohio State, Maserati Marv. Because of that, the amount of large games that are on Fox, ESPN cannot do a college football red zone with just its coverage. So deduce what you will from this. What I'm picking up is the Big 12 is about to get paid because the only way ESPN can go through with what could be a really good idea. I love the bases loaded. I love March Madness coverage where I can see multiple games at once. I love NFL Red Zone. This could be a spectacular idea. ESPN's going to have to give the Big 12 millions more dollars, and honestly the Big 10 too, to be able to go through with this. They wouldn't have to pay the SEC anything. They already own those.
They already got it. Yep.
They already have that. The Big 12 is about to get paid. I already talked about how they're rich with the streaming platform they picked up by having Peacock. This is going to compound even better.
Everybody's eating in our conference on this. I don't know how many times UCF or Houston's going to be on these games, these big Fox games or Turner games that the Big 12 has, but all of us are going to be eating, man. I don't know. Is ESPN in deep talks with the CW at this point? I'm not sure. Not sure how the ACC gets in this party.
CW, Superman and Lois. Classic.
Who do you know here? Kind of thing. But Superman's about to kiss Lois. We're gonna throw it live to the CW right now, where Lucas Scott is setting up for the win in the state championship game for the Tree Hill Ravens. I think that would be great. But this is all I could think of was the Adam Sandler Uncut Gems meme. This is how I win.
Yeah.
This is how I win, man. Like it's not something that Brett Yormark could have forecasted necessarily. That hey, in 2 years ESPN's going to try and do this red zone thing for college football because they bought the rights to the NFL one. I don't think he can do that, but you gotta have that thought when you're putting together a lucrative contract with someone like a Fox of like, hey, here's all the benefits that Fox can give me. And if for some reason this gets any bigger in any way, we're going to have more money. But to your ultimate point is this is money that the Big 10 will get, but this is money that the Big 12 will get that the SEC will not. They'll make some extra money off the revenue of that, but the Big 12 will get a double hit on that. They'll get the rights money and the revenue that comes from that show. It's inadvertently brilliant from our conference. This is huge for our conference in a game that is just totally driven by money now, more than it ever has been, and it always has been. This is a way for the Big 12 to make money and the SEC to not. That's a huge dub for us.
Daryl from Ardmore, who we shouted out last week, I'm pretty sure. He's listening to this. I don't know why he's still got us on and going, didn't you just say more money don't matter? Because I don't see none of that in my pocket. And that's the same conversation that Adam from Whitney is saying. He's the big Texas A&M fan. Those are the schools that left the Big 12, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and they did that to get more money, $20 million more per year. I'm not excited about this money because I'm going to make any of it. Right. I'm excited that it's evening the playing field. If you're sitting at number one and touting the dollars you don't get, that's stupid. If you're sitting at number three and now you're chasing number one, that's something I can get behind because it's closing the gap in college football and helping us. That's why I think this revenue is going to matter.
Yeah, and specifically to use those teams, OU, A&M, UT, it's like, well, now, for the exception of UT, let's focus on OU and A&M because UT was in the SEC championship game last year. It's like you guys are sacrificing championships. It literally, in the case of OU, you stopped winning championships.
Yes. Just
to have a little bit extra money. Not like OU and UT and A&M were starving for cash. Like, that's not what this was. They got a little bit more money to be in the SEC, to give up those rivalries, to give up those championships, to give up that regional dominance, to do that. To each their own. But now you see what you could have had if you're Oklahoma. You're like, damn, man, I could be making the college football playoff right now, going 11-1 in the Big 12. Say A&M probably has thought that the last 10 years, the talent they've had in the building. They can't get a coach who knows their butt from their armpit in the Jimbo Fisher era, but they could have been like, oh, man, could have been 10-2 in the Big 12. We could have been there. And instead you got, $20 million extra dollars. Congrats. When you get wrapped up in a major cheating scandal and the NCAA reveals that you just cheated and lied all the way to a national championship, you'll be able to pay off the fine because you have $20 million extra dollars. That was a Michigan reference, Drake. You guys will be fine. But now here's the Big 12, stable, making pretty good money, making money that, again, the SEC won't make off this deal. And you got to imagine there are some fans there thinking, can we just go back? Like, we're getting 11 a.m. games anyway. Can we just go back and win some conference championships here? I have to imagine at least some OU fans are thinking that at this point.
I would hope. And this is not even that I hate OU. I was talking to a Big 12 fan recently who said, man, I just hate OU so much more than Texas. Their fan base just drove me up a wall every year. I thought, wow, I think that's an unpopular opinion.
Different from my experience.
Disrespect that, but I always liked interacting mostly with OU fans because they knew they were good and they were just, there's something about dominance where you're just like, yeah, hand the Tom Brady deal. People are like, oh, Patriot fans are so, no, dude, when you're number one, when you just roll over everyone, why not be polite and just be like, yeah, dude, we're the best and you can't argue it. There's something.
Yeah, I hated Oklahoma because we never beat them.
Yeah.
It was not the same for Texas.
Yeah, for Texas, it's like, hey, you are screaming at me that you're good and you're not. There are metrics to prove to me that you aren't. And even when Oklahoma would slip up to Kansas State, you'd be like, okay, they still won the Big 12 championship and went to the college football playoff. So I don't hate Oklahoma fans. I just want you to understand you are becoming Texas fans.
Yeah.
By screaming at us that, oh, we're making money now. Oh, look at the poors over there. Look at the poor. You wish you were us. You may not make the playoff for the next 10 years. And you probably would have made the playoff 7 of those 10 years in the Big 12. Oh, well, you're just admitting the Big 12 is not as good as the SEC. Yes, it's not. We know that right now. It can be in 10 or 15 years, but it's not. I'm just saying your viewership experience is worse because you wanted some people who are faceless and nameless to you to make more money. And that money obviously is not going to improving Gaylord family because that stadium.
Or your roster, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not like Oklahoma's been red hot on the recruiting trail or the portal.
Whoa, hey.
They got
DeQuan Finn at quarterback this year. That's kind of they got the Pac-12's best at quarterback this year.
You know who should think about a Big 12 switch? I'm thinking about a team that I've heard a lot over the last few weeks how good they would be in the Big 12. and how they're going to rout a Big 12 team. This is also a team that has not won 7 games since 2019. Should Auburn take a look at joining the Big 12?
Tomorrow on Locked
As
On Big
bad
12.
as they say it is.
Tomorrow on Locked On Big 12.
I'm just saying.
That's actually not bad. I don't hate that actually at all. Welcome to the show, boys. It's Cameron Stuart of Locked On Baylor at Real Cam Stewart on the Twitter app. Thank you for making our shows your first listen every single day. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks again for making our shows your first listen every single day. A crossover with Baylor and Dose Grande.